for the host. So that could be why you can't get in.
Yeah, I'm just getting, please wait for the host to start this meeting. But it's just been there for a while, so I was just making sure I had the right.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We are so glad to have you join us for our webinar this afternoon. My name is Nikki Vredenberg, and I'm the Director of Education at MontanaPBS. I'm joined today by Carrie Wardle, who is Teacher Ambassador from Idaho Public Television. Carrie and I are excited to work together on this webinar and many other things that we collaborate on. We both have essentially the same job at public television stations, and we are very devoted to supporting teachers to use technology in the classroom. And we've both invited a couple of teachers from each of our states to share things that they're doing right now. Carrie, I kind of introduced you, but did you want to add anything else? I didn't mean to talk for you.
Nope, that's great.
Carrie and I can be reached. There's our email addresses and then the websites for our distance learning websites for our stations. She always looks like the shiny happy version, and I usually look like the tired version. So these two Bitmojis definitely explain the two of us. That's definitely how I feel after 3 weeks of working from home and being in front of my computer for long periods of time. Anyone else? Thumbs up if you also feel that way.
I would just like to say that Bitmoji is not actually how I feel. So
yeah,
there you go.
That's how I look anyway, for sure. So next slide, Carrie, our agenda is to talk to you about innovating in elementary. We've got two teachers here, one from Idaho and one from Montana, that are really just going to tell you stories from their classrooms and give you some things that are working for them, as well as some things that have been challenging as well, because we're not here to paint it all as it's been pretty and easy, that's for sure. And then we have two teachers, Dan and Bobby, from Idaho and Montana, talking about some things that work secondary. Although I would say that the things they'll share could also work in an elementary setting as well. And then Carrie and I will each share some of the things that our PBS national as well as our individual stations have to support distance learning. So as I was saying to some of you before we got started, all questions can go to the chat box, and our team will be trying to answer those questions as quickly as they can. It's also a great place to make comments or share ideas of your own that you think would be important to this conversation. We are recording this webinar, and the link will be posted on YouTube in the next couple of days, and so that you can share it with your colleagues or go back and relive the magic all over again. And any questions you have, just feel free to put them there in the chat box. So, all right, without further ado, we'll talk to our elementary teachers first. And I think first up is Megan Gilbert. So second grade teacher from Gooding Elementary School. Hi, Megan. Thanks for coming today.
Hey, everyone. How you doing? As she said, I do teach second grade, and we just started the distant learning this last Monday. So we had spring break to prepare, which was nice, and an extra few days before spring break when they shut us down. And so for me, I didn't know how to do Google Classroom. I had never used it except for when I took classes, and I thought, my kids don't know how to use it. They don't have Gmail accounts that they know. We have them, obviously, but they don't use them in my classroom, and we use Seesaw. So I decided my distant learning was going to center around Seesaw. One of the other teachers in our grade level wanted it to all be on one page, everything. So we went with choice boards. And Carrie, if you want to show the next slide, you'll see one of our choice boards. So this is our very first day with the choice board. And what I did is I just made the must-dos for math and reading. I linked in our math videos. Anything I can link in on reading, I link in over here, like Brain Pop or our Wonders app, anything that goes there. And then every time I have a different learning app, so like Monday and Wednesday, this looks exactly the same, which made it easy. All I have to change is my reading and math and my mystery science here. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it'll be a little different, and I'll show you that one in a minute. I'm just going to give you a quick run through as why I made them. And if you go to the next slide, Carrie. Thanks. So on this slide, first I did it where I just uploaded it to Seesaw, and then I realized most of you might use Google Classroom, so I did start a Google Classroom where I put myself in, and I gave it a try. It does upload nicely to Google Classroom. The nice thing about Seesaw is for our school iPads, it does not take them out of the Seesaw app when they go to Clever or anywhere else. It doesn't, or a YouTube video. They're not going out anywhere else on the internet. They're just staying there, which is nice. Because my students already knew how to use Seesaw, it was very easy for them to use. They did play dumb the first day and pretended to their parents they had no clue what they were doing. So we had a lot of questions, and I remedied that just by sending out a parent note. You send out information to the parents on there that let them know their kids knew exactly what they were doing and they were pulling their leg, and to make them be accountable for it. And once that happened, the questions from the parents really stopped. It helps the kids stay organized. They can just go through. The parents like it. I have a few parents who have asked for a template of our choice board for each day so they can check off and make sure the kids check off. You only need to make 2 basic templates, and you just switch out apps on those or your links on there. You can link your recorded videos. I wanted to do a Zoom or a Loom on the first day there to explain to the kids, but my internet at my house was so bad, I couldn't get it to save or to record, and I bagged it. So we're gonna try Zoom next week and see how that works. I'm gonna try linking in there, and we're gonna have a Zoom online, so we'll see how that goes. To make it, all I do is you have to go to Google Docs and page setup. Then you put your top and bottom margins to 0 and your left and right to 0.5. You want it landscape, and then your page, you choose whatever color you want. And it's actually a 3x4 table. And then to merge cells, I didn't know how, so I had to learn that. You just highlight the 2 cells, right click and merge. So that was a new learning for me there too. Then I download it from Google Docs, and you have to share so anyone with the link can view as a PDF, and then you just upload it to the student journal or to your Google Classroom. And the key on Seesaw, and I'm not sure for Google Classroom, but on Seesaw, they always have to click the words View Original. Maybe you want to go to the next one, and that'll just show you how the second one looks like on the next slide, Carrie. So this is just the second day, and instead of like a mystery science here, we put the reading or the Scholastic Learn at Home, the Scholastic Books, which is a great website that they've organized. We do like to do quizzes on there, so I put 2 of them. One's a Fun Disney, and one has to do with our math or whatever we're learning for that time. And then just links for back again to their reading and their math, and this just stays the same. We just change out a little bit. And the parents seem to like it. I have some who have multiple students, and they said this is the best format and the easiest for them. Oh, and I do make the kids load up their work and send it back to school, or not to school, sorry, on Seesaw to me. They take a picture, and my lights automatically went out. Sorry, there we go.
That was, Megan, I think I've seen 2 other models similar to that. So I think you've got a really good template there. Other schools are using a similar template where they can kind of change it every week as they need to, but that structure, as soon as the families and the kids get to know it, they feel a lot more comfortable with everything. So thank you. Next we have Katie Magnus, and she's a 3rd grade teacher from Three Forks, and I've had the pleasure of working with Katie in her classroom, and I know that she's awesome at building strong relationships with her kids, and she's done a really good job of doing that in this distance learning space as well. Go ahead, Katie.
Well, thank you, Nikki. That was really nice of you. So yeah, let's go ahead and go to the next slide, and I'll kind of reference off of that slide. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is Zoom and how I've been able to connect with my kiddos. So I tried Zoom with just a few kids at a time at first. We've been at distant learning now for about 2 weeks. we just sent out our next 2-week packet. So next week will be the start of our 3rd week. So anyways, I wanted to start super small with Zoom. I started just kind of one kid at a time. I've got a few parents that I've either had their child before, where I could call and just practice on them, and then of course practicing on my husband and other things just to make sure that it works. I just want to make sure it worked. So I did one at a time, and then I thought, it would be really great to sing happy birthday to Kaysen, who's in my classroom. And well, I'm going to be honest with you, it was a disaster. So there was way too many kids on it at one time. I didn't know at that time how to mute everybody. I know now, which is great. But I didn't then. We all got on. Everybody was kind of really slow, and they couldn't hear me, and I was chatting or I was writing in the chat button, and they didn't know how to do it. Anyway, so we logged off, and then I said, okay, I'll never do a whole class again because it's just too hard. So now I only do 5 at a time. So on Monday I work with 5, Tuesday I think 4, Wednesday 3, and then Tuesday 3, or Thursday 3, excuse me. And that works really nice. Then, you know, I can have the mute button off the whole time, and we're able to really have conversations. Every once in a while with internet issues, there are times where I have to mute them so that they can hear what I'm saying, and then I unmute. But it's been successful. I've been able to connect with them, and we read a passage just from our packet that we sent home. We read a passage out loud together, and then there's 4 comprehension questions on the back of the passage, and then we just kind of go over them. You know, what did you get for this one? And some of them, you know, probably about 50% do the passage before we connect, and then the other 50%, they, you know, hadn't started it. So it was kind of nice for their parents to have a little break, and they could do some work with me, and they felt successful too. So. And then after we read, and of course we crack some jokes, we talk about what they're doing, they show me their pets. One kiddo wanted to show me his whole bedroom. We don't need that, of course, but but it was fun, and we really had a good time with it. I did try something new this week where I had a guest person pop in, so the kids all had to guess who it was. And so it was actually my title teacher, Miss Arneson, was the teacher who was able to pop in. So they were thinking it was Mr. Fanning, who is our principal, which makes me really happy that everybody thought it was Mr. Fanning, so I might have to get him on next week. And then some kids thought it was Mr. Elliott, who is our superintendent, so I might have to have them pop in next week and chat with the kiddos. I think that'd be fun. But Miss Arneson was able to get in because I've kind of grouped my kids according to their levels. And so she was able to get in with the kids that she normally works with and listen to them read. So that's been really exciting and successful. So yeah, so there's Zoom. All right, so the next one's Prodigy. I'm actually going to have you go back and forth between the next 2 slides, if you don't mind. So go ahead and go to the next slide for Prodigy. And so Prodigy, when you first sign in, it's free. It's a free app that is dedicated to math. And what's really great about Prodigy is the kids love it. It's game form. They can battle. Like, they have these little avatars, and they can battle each other and have a good time, you know, battling math questions, and they can find each other, which my kids love. They always ask, what's your username? And so they can battle each other. Now, when you first log into Prodigy, I have this data collection page that you guys are looking at. So the data collection page tells me how many questions my students have answered. So this was, I took a picture of this, I think, yesterday. And so I have 18 kiddos. They've answered 651 questions this week, which is awesome. I didn't think that they needed to do that many, but that's okay. I don't mind them doing that. So what's nice about this is I took a picture of it, and then I sent it to the parents, and I said, wow, look at how many of you are participating online, doing Prodigy. I'm so proud of you guys. And then I was able to say who was in first place, second place, third place. Then after I sent that message, kids were then able to, I saw a few of them get on and then want to, you know, that first place or second place. So that was exciting. With Prodigy, go ahead and go on to the next slide. So with Prodigy, I can push out an assignment that aligns with what we're doing. So for example, we were just learning, or we were just reviewing rounding and then story problems. So I was able to click that standard, and then it pushes it out to every kiddo so that they're all kind of working on that concept. I can also let them kind of have free reins if I want to, where they can advance on to the next level if they so choose. But for right now, I'm just kind of pushing out problems that we've been working on in class. So that's been really great. Okay, can you go back 2 slides to that first slide I had? Yeah, good. So then Google Classroom, I've been fortunate enough that I have Miss O, who is our tech teacher here in Three Forks. She has done a lot with our kids with Google Classroom, and then Corey and I also have had our kids in and out of Google Classroom as well. So my kids, they could access it super easily, which I was so thankful that we've practiced that enough that they could. I've been posting everything on Google Classroom. So Zoom, when I'm meeting with 4 kiddos, I can select those 4 kids, push out that we're going to Zoom, and then I can write a little description. Please make sure you have your packets, your paper, your pencil, and let's get connected. We've also pushed out mystery sciences that way, and Corey and I have only decided to do, the 5-minute mystery sciences where we push those out, and they don't really require any kind of paperwork. They're just watching and learning about some new fun science as well. Another thing that I pushed out to Google Classroom, I made just kind of a fun video on cursive that the kids could practice with me, uploaded it to YouTube, and then put the link on Google Classroom as well. Okay, so the last one I'm going to talk about is Spell City. So if you'll go ahead and go 4 slides on, my last slide there. Yep, right there. Okay, so Spell City, it is not free, but it is something that we've been using all year, where I can then push out our spelling lists that align with our curriculum. So then kids are able to play games, they can test themselves, they can practice their spelling words. So this week we told them, or for the next week I guess, we told the kids to go ahead and just practice some of those old lists that we've been working on. So, and then it looks like I have a question here. Are all your students participating? Yeah, so I've been able to Zoom with all of my kids but one, which has been really great. Oh, Spell City is free now. Awesome. That is great. That is wonderful. Yeah, Spell City is definitely a big tool that we use. Even in the classroom, that's how we take all of our spelling tests, is on Spell City, so that it's at their pace. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so on the next slide, I just have a few pictures there of the one on the left is some of the games that the kids can play. And like I said, they can, on the right, they can practice their spelling tests. And yeah, I think that's about all I have for you guys. If anybody else has any questions for me, I was going to look at this feed here.
I think that was all of them, yeah.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
a lot of fans of Spelling City and that it's free right now. That's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. It's a spendy one, so I'm glad it is free
Yeah.
for everybody. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Katie.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So now we're going to transition over to more secondary ideas, and we have some 2 awesome teachers who are going to share some ideas from the secondary space. Our first person is Dan from Idaho, and shout out to Dan. He found out we were having this webinar and he emailed us and asked if he could be a part of it, which Carrie and I are like, people want to be in our webinar? That's awesome.
That never happens.
That never happens. So, but he had this great innovative idea, and I think you're all going to really enjoy hearing from Dan. So take it away, Dan.
Thank you. Hi, yeah, I teach at Cassia High School, which is an alternative high school, and it's a school where the overwhelming majority of our students are not highly engaged in learning, especially not in the beginning. So especially in the subject of math, which is what I teach. So if you want to go to the next slide. The thing that we've been doing, which is kind of new, actually really new even at our school, is we've created a kind of a mega class, almost, you know, we kind of refer to it as a school within a school, with over 60 students in it, and it's called the STEM Family Academy. And basically we got together a group of teachers. So math, we have math, certification, science, computer science, we have engineering, we have, let's see, Spanish, language arts, all together. And we are all in the room together. We gather the kids together, and we've invited their family members to be a part of this as well. And the whole idea is for us to just all work together to create STEM learning opportunities that then help them develop their interest further and allow them to develop skill mastery in each of these individual areas. So, you know, you can see our goals are listed there. You know, we wanted to pique the curiosity of the kids and get them involved in learning again. We wanted to increase parental involvement and get them involved. You know, a lot of parents, they just want to pass off the math burden of learning and teaching math to their children and to the children's teachers and not be involved. And it's because it's intimidating, and maybe a lot of them haven't had a lot of success in the past. And so this is a way for us to get them involved. You can see that parents, what I've written there, parents are students. They're invited to participate as students and learn alongside their students. They are not expected to be teachers and volunteers. In fact, one of the things that we do when we invite them, when we get a new parent that joins or a new family member that joins, is that we want to go over the expectations for the academy with them. And that includes that while they may want to parent and have the right to parent, we want them to do their parenting outside of the school. So if you want to correct your child or apply a discipline to them or something like that, we would rather you wait until you're home to do that kind of thing. And if not, then we want you to take your kid out of the class at that time. You know, you can check your kid out and go home, and if you feel they need a discipline in the moment, but we're not having the parents in the classroom to be parenting. We want them to be learning alongside of their children. And you know, I say parents, it's really family members, so grandparents, whoever it is that's in their lives that they want to involve, we invite them to participate as a student. And then what we're really doing is trying to do a lot of hands-on STEM kind of activities. So we have stuff with rockets and catapults and engineering, and we do engineering challenges. We're learning all about alternative energy sources, power supplies, electronics, robotics, just everything that there is that kids can get into and start getting interested in. We have as part of our plans that we've been working through. And so if you want to go to the next slide. Sorry. So what we decided to do when we, you know, had everybody at home was we decided, you know, we knew our kids are a little bit older, and they're definitely well aware of what's going on. And so we wanted to really take that curiosity they have about COVID-19 and really encourage them to learn, to continue their learning. So we wanted to keep them really engaged, and we wanted them to, take advantage of the topic of the day, so to speak, COVID-19, right? And so what we did was we started out exploring epidemiology. Once we got into the soft closure, we wanted to learn what is it that epidemiologists do. We had some hidden math lessons in there about how they study infection rates and that kind of a thing. We use NEPRIS. I don't know if you've ever heard of NEPRIS before, but it's a really, really cool site online that you can go to. And what they have is, well, what they do is they connect students with professionals in the field to do live chats, video chats, where you get to learn about what it is that the professionals do. And they have thousands and thousands of these recorded, and they're free to watch. So if you're curious about what it is an epidemiologist does, you can go in there and just type up epidemiology. You can set a grade level and say, I only need it for, you know, like K through 2 or something, and what would be, you know, appropriate. I don't remember the actual blocks, but it is broken down so that you can find something that's grade appropriate. And then you will get a link and you watch it. Not, it says somebody's asking, will this recording be sent to us? And I think you might be asking about this big recording here. But the NEPRIS recordings are just links that you find, and then you just watch them like you'd be watching YouTube. And you also can sign up to participate and watch them live. You can also fill out forms and do a request. And if you know somebody who's, say, you know, somebody and they're a, I don't know, petroleum engineer or something, and they want to share what it is they do to inspire kids, so they can go to NEPRIS and volunteer to host a seminar. So there's just tons and tons of stuff that you can get from NEPRIS. We also wanted to get into the career of data science. We thought this was an excellent time because everybody's learning about infection rates and contagion and how things grow. And so we're leveraging the Concord Consortium. If you see that there, there's a couple of major tools that we use, which is CODAP. CODAP is a platform that allows students to easily begin to analyze data. And then there's the SAGE modeler. So we're using that. We're exploring the data, the real world data about the infection rates, including things like, you know, test positive versus negative tests at the state level, at the county level, infection rates, hospitalization rates, you know, that kind of thing, recovery rates, all of that kind of stuff. So it gives us a lot of really good data to get into math and think about. If you want to go to the next slide. This is an example of the SAGE modeler that you see here, where the kids are actually building out models, and then once this is big in the science standards, is that they're supposed to be able to do modeling of systems. And this is a system modeler, just a screenshot I've got of one where, you know, we're looking at infection rates and, you know, whether or not students are, or people comply, and what is the effect if people are complying with a shelter-in-place order. You know, the students can build their own models and run simulations and collect data. And then of course they can compare that data to real world stuff, which helps them, inform them about what's really going on, or helps them understand better what's really going on with the actual infection data once it comes out later on. And then if you want to go to the last slide here, the last slide is talking about using Jamboard and Google. Well, we use Google Meet to meet. We don't use Zoom. But this is how we try to keep everybody together, right? So the title on this slide, Socially Distant, Learning Together. I think one of the big challenges we have is that we have a way we can send homework and kids are home and they're doing packets by themselves, or they're watching videos by themselves, or completing assignments by themselves. But how do we get them together, and how do we get them to work together? So this is a poster that I made that I'm sharing, but it is an assignment that we've given out to our students to each make a poster that demonstrates what they've learned as they've gone through the data. Down there at the bottom, you can see there's a lot of like graphs and things that you can't see all that closely. Those are things that I created with the CODAP tool that we learned about. And then what we're using to create these virtual posters is called Jamboard. It's a product from Google and it's free. And the students are able to get on the Jamboard and you can just add extra slides. It's basically like a huge poster or a big slide, and then the kids can just draw on it, mark it up, put the sticky notes, add pictures or whatever. But what's nice about it, what we did was I just took those Jamboards and just added in extra pages for kids, and then told them you can work together on it. If you want to form a team, get with your team. They're both sitting at their own computer at home and they're talking about, you know, the posters they want to make. And the work they're doing and the graphs they made to interpret and understand it. And so they're collaborating, they're working together just like we would have them work together in a real classroom. So that's how I'm trying to keep our kids working together collaboratively. We use Google Meets, like I said. I love that once you watch or you have a meeting together in Google Meet, one of the things that it does is that instantly when you're done recording your meeting, it goes right into your folder. And on Google Drive, for those of you that use Google a lot, we're a Google Apps for Education school district. So all of our students have Google accounts, and the Google Drive folder can be shared. So now every student instantly has the ability to go back and see the meetings that they missed. And it's a pretty good way, because a lot of kids, they might even have data trouble with streaming live, but they can go in and watch it later on. So that's pretty much what I have to share. I don't know if there were any questions. I was kind of going there.
No, you did great. I didn't see any questions, although Grace wants you to report for Idaho Reports on Thursday nights. So
Yeah.
maybe Carrie can hook that up.
I'm so super shy, you know, I just would.
That was awesome. I
I'll see
like
what I can do.
Jamboard so much. We were just playing with that at a conference a couple months ago. I think there's so much potential there. It's super cool.
Yeah.
The other thing that Dan showed at me that I knew but then forgot about is that the Google Calendar holds all of these documents too. And so when he sets up a Google meeting in his calendar, the Jamboard is there, the lesson he wants to do, it's all there. So kids can go back to their calendar and find all this stuff from their class meeting, which I was like, yeah, that's right, it does that. That's so cool.
It's so good. I put tutorial notes in there. Everything that they need is found right there in their calendar. We use Google Classroom too, but we really are trying to help our kids prepare for life after high school, and being a professional means keeping a calendar and keeping track of things, keeping yourself organized that way. So we're trying to use that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dan. So next we have Bobby Lauver from Three Forks, Montana. Bobby is the jack of all trades out there in Three Forks. His title is Director of Technology, but he also makes t-shirts and irons things for the National Honor Society and runs from one end of the building to the next. So super excited to have Bobby share. He's also the video media guy out there, and so I asked him to share some of the cool media creation things that he's done with people.
All right, thank you. If we just move into the next slide, I am just moving into the tech director position. I was a business tech teacher here in Three Forks, and then moved into the tech role. I still teach one class a day. The one I want to push out is that personalizing a lecture. A lot of mine, when we get into this distance learning, you can always throw out a tutorial. You can always have them go to YouTube, but there's something about your students just being able to see you. And so the one I want to talk about today is Screencastify. It's a free screen recorder. It does connect to Chrome. The one thing I really like about it is it works as an extension. There's no downloading of the software, so it works on a Chromebook, and so that makes it really easy for a lot of our teachers. The videos that you do create will auto-save into Google Drive, but you do have the option, you can share them into Google Classroom, straight to YouTube, and you can also download them to your computer and then put them on your website or wherever you want to locate these at. I used this program last year to do video lecture of my accounting class when I flipped my classroom. So instead of lecturing all day, I built these. The students would watch the lecture, and so then during class time, I was able to go around and actually help them with their accounting. If you want to go to the next slide, where I'm using this right now is I'm trying to make sure our teachers are getting what they need to be able to reach to their students. And so I'm able to make quick videos for them. I actually have a folder that's shared out. And so a teacher will say, hey, I need to know how to do this, or can you build this? And I can go in really quick and build them a tutorial on how to build contacts in their Gmail, how to start a Zoom call, how to start a Meet call. The one thing that I always push out there, everything's not always roses. With the free edition of this, you are limited to 5 minutes per video. I don't know about any of you, but after about 5 minutes, I'm ready to shut down. I know my students are. So 5 minutes is usually pretty good. But if you have the ability or you need to go over that 5 minutes, I have an English teacher that is lecturing off PowerPoint. So he's able to pull PowerPoint up, and then he can lecture right over the top of it. So he needed longer than that. So we upgraded him to the unlimited. I have a screenshot there of it. One of the big things is make sure that you get the education pricing. I think it's a month, it takes $20 off of it. I think it's $49, and then you can get it for $29. You can also get it for your entire school. I haven't looked into doing that as of yet. I only have a handful of teachers that are using it right now. But just make sure you get the better price. I know I'm always trying to find the best way to do something. That's why I keep all my stuff under 5 minutes, which if anybody knows me, that's really hard for me to do, to keep anything under 5 minutes. If we want to go to the next slide, I'm going to try to keep this closest to 5 minutes as I possibly can. One thing I like is we can go in, and when you record, you can record your entire desktop. You can just do a tab. You can have your webcam on if you want. And then once you stop that share, it automatically throws it into your Google Drive. In my case, it throws it into my Google Drive. And then last night, I threw this together really quick just to kind of show you how easy and quick you can do this. If you just want to hit play on the video, and we'll see if the video goes here. It looks like the video is muted on me, or maybe we just can't hear it.
We may not have shared the audio. I think that's
okay.
I think Carrie's gonna walk into the settings there and see if she can get to it.
Okay, it was just showing you guys can have your webcams on if you want. You don't have to have your webcam on. I know when I was doing mine, I don't like the webcam on. I really don't need to see me, but the students can see everything that's going on the screen. This also goes well for my teachers if I want to show them how to do something. We're going to try it with the sound now.
Wow, you guys, I'm having some tech issues over here. Okay,
That's okay.
here we go.
Okay.
One of the things I do like about Screencastify, it gives me the ability that my students can see me doing a lecture, going over something with them, and able to do it quickly.
So that was something I was able to throw together. All it was is a click in the top right corner, and off I go on it. I've had really good luck even doing short little blurbs for my teachers on that one. Okay, next one. The next one is just video creation. We've used WeVideo. It's an online video editor. It works from a Chrome browser. You don't have to download any software to it. Right now, the education subscription, there's a 30-day free trial. And you can kind of see everything that's built into that. The education kind of gives you more control. It lets you build groups. It lets your kids collaborate on it. There is a free version that the kids can just go out and edit on it. You don't have to head to education version. But if we go to the next slide, I'll show you why the education version is nice. Basically, it gives you the admin console that you can go and set your members. So you can set your students in there. You can go into settings and give them certain rights so that maybe they can only share a video to Google Drive, but they can't throw it out to YouTube. So you can have a lot of different settings in there. It has different settings for parents. It has different settings for students and teachers and the admin. Then you can also go into your group settings, and this allows you to build collaborative groups. They can work on the same project at the exact same time, no matter where they're at. They just have to have, of course, internet access to do that. And then you also get reports back. The editing features on this are really simple. And that's one thing I like about it. We were able to use this with our middle school teachers and our middle school students last year. We used a green screen, so it's able to do green screen. And if you don't know a lot about green screens, they're really not that fancy, and they don't have to be green. All you really need to do is just have a solid background. You can use green. We had one of our teachers here, actually Katie, that presented earlier. She built one in her classroom. It was just a bunch of green construction paper. And then I broke the news to her that we had a green screen at the school. I had to run a little bit, but she didn't catch me. But you can just put green up onto the board onto a wall, and they're able to use the green screen aspect of it. In our middle school, they did a where am I? And so they kind of did like a guessing game. They gave some clues, and then with the green screen at the end, put them in the location that the other students were trying to guess. So that's one way that we used WeVideo. That's pretty much it on that end. That's quick and quick and dirty, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you, Bobby. So, yep, I always get questions about, what's a good video editor for Chromebooks, because obviously iMovie is super user-friendly for kids on iPads and Macs and everything, but I always recommend WeVideo for that. It's super easy to use. So great. Thank you. All right. So next, Carrie and I are going to share about some of the resources that PBS has to offer teachers, just from the national level as well as from our individual stations. So the next slide. PBS Learning Media is the free website for teachers. It's a pre-K through 12 plus website that features videos and games and interactives, photos, lesson plans that cover most every content area can be found on this website, and it's all free. It's always free. PBS stations from all over the country collaborate to make these lesson materials, and they are aligned to national and state standards. And we're going to show you some of the features beyond just the videos and the games, which we think are the most used on PBS Learning Media, but there are also some really cool learning tools that live within the PBS Learning Media website that a lot of teachers don't have the opportunity to explore. I should say it also syncs really well with Google Classroom. You can add things from this website directly to your Google Classroom, and it also syncs with Remind. So those teachers who are using the Remind app to communicate with families can send things from this website directly through that app as well. So next slide. The interactive lessons is a tool within Learning Media that is fairly new in the last couple of years, but these are self-paced lessons that you can share with your students through Google Classroom, or you can just give them a link to the lesson. And they are meant to be done either individually, or if you're in a classroom setting within small groups or whole group. We think they're great for distance learning because they are a combination of interactive activities, from watching a movie and typing in some text to respond to doing some kind of a activity that goes along with them. There's interactive lessons for pre-K up to grade 12 in a variety of content areas. So you're likely to find a lesson that fits with what you want your students to do. Next slide, Carrie. This slide has just a little animation of what the interactive lesson looks like. So I'll just
Sorry, I
talk
went
over
to your
it.
link.
Oh,
Sorry.
well,
I went.
that's all right.
I clicked on it and it was your link, and not. Okay,
Yeah.
there. Are we back to
Yeah,
the slide
there we
deck?
go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so
Sorry.
this is just a little animation of what an interactive lesson looks like. You can see that some of them have a map area and then an area where kids can type notes and keep track of what they're learning. They would read the text and watch a video and then type a response to the questions within the lesson. And then there are even activities where they might do a drawing activity, a matching activity. They might fill out a graphic organizer. This is an example of the Visualize It tool, where they would could even use annotation tools. This, you're going to see my top-notch drawing abilities here, drawing a pyramid on the screen. But all of this then lives within this lesson, and the teacher can view the results of this later. The kids can also go back and see what the lessons, see how they did on the lesson. And so a teacher could take their Google Classroom and bring it onto Learning Media and assign things that way, or they can get into Learning Media and set up a class with anonymous student logins and assign things that way, and then they can go in and see the work that they're done. A note about these is that there are lessons for the primary level, the K-3 lessons, and they're really good. However, the first thing you'll notice is that they require a ton of reading. They weren't meant for primary students, emergent readers, to do independently. They were really meant to be done in a whole group setting. So maybe these independent interactive lessons would be something you could do when you're having your Zoom class meetings, and you would share your screen and have the interactive lesson playing, and your students would guide you through how to do some of these activities together. Or if there was a child at home that had some support at home, a family member that could go through the lesson with them and do the reading and read the directions, that would be the best way to use these in the primary space. For older kids, I think kids 3rd grade and up who are strong readers and can work independently, these lessons allow kids to work at their own pace and use a variety of different elements to show what they've learned and to show what they know. And so I think they're a really strong resource that lives on learning media. Every lesson has a cumulative or a summative activity at the end that's directly tied to the whole learning goal of the lesson. So in this one, it was to make a postcard about Africa and talk about what they had learned and use all of the things from the lesson. They can go back to each part of the lesson and see the notes that they took and the learning that they did on each page, so that they can use that in the summative lesson as well. Carrie and I are both going through a training right now with the PBS station in Boston to learn how to create these. And so in the months ahead, you'll see interactive lessons coming out with both Montana and Idaho specific lessons, which we're really excited about. All
and
right.
I'm just gonna shout out for the intermediate grades, all right? Because I taught 5th grade. There's a really great Inspiring Middle School Literacy that is an entire collection of interactive lessons. I love it because as a 5th grade teacher, I didn't find a lot of things that were about literacy, you know, for 5th grade, because by then they are supposed to be literate. And so anyway, look for that collection if you teach 5th through 8th grades. It's amazing.
Yeah, and there's a really great one about the Lewis and Clark expedition too, that my daughter's teacher actually assigned to her class this week. So I was like, woo! Next slide, Carrie. This is just resources specific to MontanaPBS, but they are free and open to everyone. We're really excited that they let education take over the broadcast schedule. They may regret it, but they let me do it. And we totally revised what shows up on air between 6:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the evening. All of it is programming devoted to pre-K through 8th grade. And we've created this cool interactive schedule that if you click on the PDF, we also have digital materials to go along with each of those programs as well. The mission of this was equitable access for those kids that may not have great internet but still get our broadcast signal. Those kids that can't use a device during the day because mom's using it to work, like in my house. Tuning into MontanaPBS and watching any of these programs, we are aligned with Montana state standards because the Office of Public Instruction says so. And they've agreed to say that because they helped us build the schedule. And so we're really proud of that. We've also put together a distance learning website for teachers. We're super proud of that. We have over 4,000 views of that website just in the last 2 weeks. It's been really great that teachers have used those resources. And then my team, we are a resource. We've been meeting with teachers via Zoom and on the phone and via text, helping sort through this crazy fun that is distance learning. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We have a closed Facebook group for teachers where we're sharing resources every day. And then you can email me or my team member, Deanna, who's an early learning specialist, to get support as you're working with your students as well. And it's your turn, Carrie.
Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some learning media features that Nikki just talked about as well, or that Nikki just talked about learning media. I'm going to talk about some really cool features for teachers. So these are available to you if you sign up for an account. And really, there's no reason not to. It's free. There's a single sign-on. And signing up for an account with learning media localizes it and allows the standards to be aligned to your state as opposed to just aligning for national anyway. So if you sign up for an account, then you will notice over here where it says my name that there's an arrow there, and you'll find tools there. You'll find teacher tools. And there's just a couple that I'm going to quickly highlight today. And I don't have the cool scrolling pictures like Nikki does, you guys, but but I will just show you. There is the lesson builder, and I love it. Teachers can build their own lessons. So, you know, Nikki and I are working on helping to create interactive lessons that are already done. But if you have content that you wanted to create a lesson for your students by yourself, you could do that. And there's tutorials and things online on Learning Media about how to use these, but I'll just give you a quick, it's a really quick and easy way to just create a lesson. You can put in your own, you can do like multiple choice questions. So you'll see that it's just like building in slides, and you'll give an introduction slide, and then you'll add a new slide, and you want it to be media, a question, or a text slide. And so you can do questions and you can build your own. And the media does not have to be from Learning Media. You can put in links from like YouTube if you had a YouTube video. So it doesn't have to be from PBS. And so that's a super quick, just really like down and dirty sort of thing. But I love the ability to be able to do that. And then what you'll notice here is that, again, you can share this and you can make it private, and then that would just be, you get a link and you share that with your students. If you make it public, that would make it so that somebody else searching might find your lesson on Learning Media, and they might use it for their second grade class or whatever. But otherwise, you can just, you know, you can save it. Once you save it, it gives you a link, a shareable link to be able to then share with your kids. So you can build your own lessons right within Learning Media, and I love that. The other tool, and probably one of my favorites, is the storyboard tool. So you can create a storyboard, again, that you can share with your students. Students can also create storyboards, and you could create, again, using things. So here's just, it comes up with this basic template here. Now, this is all, you can move them, you can delete them, you can add pieces. It just sort of gives you a template to start with. And again, the media and the things that you insert, they don't have to be resources from Learning Media. And so right on here, you can build a storyboard for your students that has, you know, a video and then some text next to it that just describes that video. And then you can put in pictures, and you can add in clip art. There's just, I love this, and I love the ability that teachers have to be able to just really create this sort of rich document for their students. And then again, you can choose if you want that to be public or private, and you can share that out you'll get a URL to be able to share that out with your students, and you can quickly share it with using Google Classroom or Remind, or just share the link with them. So I know that's a super, really fast thing, but I just want to point out, go in and sign up for an account and play with those teacher tools. You'll notice that there are a ton of things. You can favorite things, you can create folders, and so they're just a wealth of teacher tools for you in there, where you can organize and share things. You can create an entire folder of resources and share it with a colleague who might, you know, who teaches the same grade level as you. So there really is a lot of really great features right within Learning Media. And then I'll just talk about what Idaho's doing. We're doing very similar things to Montana. You guys, as somebody who, you know, is an educator and then went to work for PBS, I don't know if there's been a time that I've been more proud to work for PBS as right now. You guys, as soon as this happened, I know teachers everywhere were going, what do we do? What do we do? And I'll tell you that PBS stations across the nation instantly went, how do we help these? What do we do? And my email began blowing up from all these different groups that I was on about, how do we help? What are you doing? What can we do? How can we help? And so we really have been working hard to try and support you. So we also have a distance learning website. it's linked here, where we've shared some really great resources that we think would be helpful and beneficial. And I helped curate the content on this website. And then we've also adjusted our broadcasting schedule. Our Create channel, which is, depending on the area of Idaho that you're in, it's the 0.3 digital channel. In the Ada County, Boise area, it's 4.3. In the afternoons from 1 to 6 is programming for grades 6 through 12. And I'm specifically going in and finding programs that, so I'm managing that as well, and finding programs that I feel like meet standards, and I'm putting out a schedule that links learning media resources additionally with those resources, because again, we wanted to try and reach students who were not at home. We have our main Idaho channel that's for K to 3rd grade, well, pre-K to 3rd really, and it's going all day. And then we also have a 24/7 channel. So we as well wanted to focus on that. And then the other project that I'm gonna say really fast that I am so excited about, that's happening beginning April 20th. We are getting teachers from across the state of Idaho to, and we're focusing on 3rd through 6th grades. We are getting them to teach content, to create a video, basically a recording of them teaching content. And then we're going to broadcast that on air as well. We will do that in the morning on that same, 0.3 channel. Our hope is that, again, equity of access, that those kids who, and we know that in Idaho, at least 20% of students don't have access to the internet or any kind of a device. For some districts, it's more than that. I was recently talking to a superintendent who said theirs is about 60% actually of their students that do not have access. Our hope is that for the next 6 weeks, we will be able to at least provide some sort of teaching for them. So we're getting certified teachers from across the state, and we're going to broadcast that on air. We're going to do a 4-hour block, 1 hour per grade level, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So I'm really excited about that, and about our station manager letting us hijack the on air to really, to interrupt our regularly scheduled program to really hopefully meet the needs of things that are happening in our community. And then we've got other things as well. We're doing virtual story times. I'm doing some weekly professional development sessions. And this coming Saturday, we have a virtual ed camp that we're doing via Zoom for early childhood educators. So if anybody wants any more information about that, you are more than welcome to, about any of that stuff, you're more than welcome to reach out. This is my contact information, but I'm really excited about, the things that we've got going on.
Yeah, thanks everybody. So we'll also be sharing the contact information for all 4 of the teachers that shared with us today, so that if you wanted to reach out to them directly for any questions that you have about the things they shared, I know they'd be happy to help out. Like I said, we are recording this, and so we'll share that recording with you. And I put the link to this slide deck in the chat, but you'll get an email from me later with the link to this slide deck as well. So you could go back and revisit that and click on any of those links. We really appreciate your time today. And it's officially Friday, so put the laptop away and start celebrating being at home and not having to do any work. So thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your help and joining us with this, all of our presenters helping us with this, and we'll see you next time.